Welcome to the informational video about the City of Los Angeles' proposed wildlife ordinance, which is an effort to ensure that future development is balanced with wildlife habitat and connectivity. On behalf of the City of Los Angeles, we thank you for your interest in this topic and for taking the time to watch this informational video to learn more. Within Part 1 of this presentation, the Department of City Planning will frame the importance of the wildlife ordinance. An overview of the proposed wildlife ordinance, including an update on where the ordinance is in the process of adoption and next steps, is provided in Part 2 of the video recording, which can be accessed in a separate clip online at planningforla.org/wildlife. In this informational video, let's explore why wildlife habitat and movement is important to address in a place like Los Angeles. Cities are often seen as urban or developed areas composed of nothing more than concrete, steel, and infrastructure, but cities, such as Los Angeles, are really helping to set a precedent for how to address environmental challenges within the most developed parts of the world. With the recent release of the revised wildlife ordinance on Earth Day of 2022, the City of LA is making history and setting an innovative precedent for how a city can play a role in ensuring that the health of the planet is protected, creating more livable places for all communities. On a daily basis, we are being bombarded by an overwhelming array of global environmental challenges related to climate change and biodiversity loss. The United Nations decided that the planet's health, which we rely on as a species for our own existence, is in such jeopardy that this decade needs to be devoted to ecosystem restoration, or else it will simply be too late to save the planet and ourselves. And we are reading about and experiencing firsthand a slew of serious environmental challenges at the local level as well, in our own backyards and lives here in LA. We see these types of headlines on a daily basis, which include everything from sea level rise and smog to drought, wildfire, and extreme heat events, to tree canopy loss, to the loss of more and more mountain lions in our already dwindling population that, at this rate, will go locally extinct in our lifetime if we don't do something about it. All of which is illuminating how much important environmentally related work we really have to do here in LA. The good news is that there are a multitude of efforts underway to address such climate-related challenges on an international all the way down to local level, including many plans, reports, and initiatives being spearheaded by the City of LA. LA's Green New Deal specifically is one of the key plans guiding our work at the city, and codifies the importance of addressing environmental challenges such as habitat and biodiversity loss here in Los Angeles. It identifies biodiversity and wildlife connectivity as essential for the city to address, something that we want to be at the forefront of, so as the second largest metropolitan area in the nation, we can help to provide a roadmap for how others can similarly help to save the planet by properly managing the ecosystems within urban areas as well. Many people may be surprised to know that the important plants, animals, and ecosystems in LA are not only found in open spaces or public parks that are already protected and being managed for the environment. In urban settings, more than a third of green space is actually found in backyards and on private property. As you can see from the white space on this map, most of the land in LA is privately owned, much of which, believe it or not, actually has important biodiversity occurring on it, which you can see from this map here. This is a screen capture of the LA region from iNaturalist, which is an online community science platform for recording observations of nature. Each colored dot that you see speckled on this map marks a species observation of a plant, animal, or fungi. And as you can see, there's a lot. This shows clear evidence that there is a significant amount of biodiversity still living amongst us and spread across both public and private property in LA. And this biodiversity that is in the city and region puts LA on the map for being one of 36 global biodiversity hotspots, ranking us on par with places like Madagascar and the tropical Andes. These hotspots are places where biodiversity exists, but continues to be threatened, so need additional consideration not only for the health of biodiversity within that local area, but for all biodiversity on Earth. Thanks to the direction from city leaders and concern from residents, the Wildlife Pilot Study and Associated Wildlife Ordinance were initiated to help directly address biodiversity and wildlife habitat and connectivity in Los Angeles. The City of LA is not the only jurisdiction in the region tackling these important topics. Ventura County adopted an ordinance that addresses wildlife habitat and connectivity in 2019 and recently prevailed in a legal challenge against the ordinance. The overall goal of the City of LA's wildlife pilot study and associated wildlife ordinance is to balance wildlife habitat and connectivity with development, thereby achieving more sustainable outcomes in some of the most ecologically sensitive parts of Los Angeles. By ensuring that development takes place in a more sustainable manner, the city can help to address and support other essential goals such as biodiversity, climate resilience, fire safety, and watershed health, all of which create a much more livable city for everyone. The regulations proposed in the Wildlife Ordinance will be piloted in the Wildlife Ordinance District, circled in cyan on the left or west of this map. As you can see from this regional context, the Wildlife Ordinance District is a key stepping stone that helps to connect the mountain ranges within the region. Maintaining and enhancing habitat and connectivity for wildlife across these mountains is essential for keeping populations of plants and animals healthy by allowing them to mix genes and DNA and be prepared for climate change and the necessary range shifts that they will encounter. Creating these kind of landscape scale connections will provide key connections for wildlife to move across the landscape. How unique is it that in the second largest urban area in the U.S., we have a mountain lion, P22, shown here with the Hollywood sign in the background, living in the middle of it amongst us? P22, which stands for the 22nd collared puma concolor, which is the scientific name for mountain lion or cougar, began his life somewhere up in the Simi Hills, which you can see in the upper left of this map, and eventually ambitiously journeyed into and across the Santa Monica Mountains to Griffith Park, where he now resides. There's a wildlife crossing that just broke ground on Earth Day up in Agora Hills, shown in the top left, which will provide better connections for wildlife between the Simi Hills and the Santa Monica Mountains. Once built, it will be the largest wildlife crossing in the world. But maintaining wildlife habitat and movement through the mountains and hillsides of LA is challenging, especially as we are simultaneously encountering an increase in development pressure in many of the same areas that are important for wildlife and biodiversity. This illuminates the need for the City of LA to make sure that we're giving ourselves, as well as the mountain lions and other animals, the space they need to live and move and survive, which is exactly what the Wildlife Ordinance aims to do. For more information about the proposed Wildlife Ordinance, please visit the project website at planningforla.org/wildlife and watch part 2 of the informational video. Thank you again for taking the time to learn more about this important topic.